For today's agenda, we're going to be looking at these areas. First, when we log into our account, we're going to go over and navigate dashboard. This is an area where you could have tiles for convenience as far as navigating around your account. So we'll go over some of those areas and show you how to edit that. We're also going to create a folder and upload an item into that folder. We're going to add a user to that folder. That'll be part of creating our client users portion. And then we'll show you how to send and request data to your account. You can do this a multiple of ways via a public link or through an email sent via ShareFile. We're going to integrate right signature with the document I have uploaded into the account. And I'm going to show you where the desktop apps are located. These are some tools of convenience as far as our Outlook plugin and Gmail add-in. We'll show you where to download those and install those. And lastly, I'm going to connect a public cloud connector. You have the capability of connecting third-party storage areas as far as OneDrive, Gmail, and I'll show you how to do that with actually a Gmail account that we have established. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started with our demo here. And right now I am at the login page for my account. Essentially, when you start a ShareFile account, you will get an activation email that will have you establish your password and set up your credentials. I've already done that, so I'm just going to go ahead and click sign in. And here we are at our dashboard. We have 4 separate tiles that we see showing. The first is our recent files, and this will give you a list of files that you have touched or worked with prior to this login. To our right here, we are seeing favorites, and this will list any files or folders that you have selected to be a part of that favorite area. It sort of keeps you from having to dig down for items if they have an extensive folder tree. Towards the bottom, we have shortcuts. Again, this area is going to give you ease of access as far as navigating to certain features or activities you want to perform within the account. And then we have tutorials. Some more getting started videos here. You can pick your area of knowledge with the tiers that you see here in the drop-down list. If you are a little bit more advanced and want to look at some advanced resources, you can select that area as well. And then our ShareFile apps are going to focus more on the desktop tools. This area can be edited, as I mentioned in the beginning of the agenda there. And to do that, you're going to go to the top right where you see Edit Dashboard and click that area. It's going to give you a list of tiles that you may choose to show. Currently, I have all 4 tiles listed here, but if I wanted to, let's say, deselect favorites and not show that anymore, I would just click on that area and click save. And now I see that my favorites area has been removed. So again, this area is an ease of access and allows you to just navigate throughout the account a little bit more easily. Next, we are going to show you how to create a folder. And to do that, I'm going to go to my shared folders directory. I am going to choose that from the shortcuts area in my dashboard. I see shared folders here, but if you go to the far left, you will see a folders area also. And if you expand that, you also have the shared folders directory there. So there's 2 different ways you can get to that area. Once I click on there, I'm presented with the root level of folders for this particular shared folders area. To create a new folder, I would simply just go to the top right and hover my mouse over the blue circle with a plus sign and choose Create Folder. At this point, it's going to have me put in a name for my folder. Any details regarding this folder, I can put, just the type of data that's going to be hosted in this folder. And I can add people through this folder creation. We're going to hold off on this part for now because I've already created a folder I'm going to do this with, but just to show you, you have the capability of adding people to this folder as well. If you were to have folder templates established for your account, you could assign templates through this process by choosing use a folder template. And if I'd had any pre-populated or pre-created, they would show in a drop-down list here for me to choose from. But for now, I'm going to cancel out. And we're going to go to the folder that I previously created. And we're going to move to the process of creating a user or adding a user to this folder. Now that I have inside of my client folder, if I wanted to add a user to the folder, I would go to people on this folder, go all the way over to add people to this folder. And then I can simply type in the email address for that user I want to add. Just making sure everything's spelled correctly so it gets to the right email. All right. Actually, here's what I need to do. I need to go to create new user because that user has yet to be created, so they won't show my drop down. So I'm going to put in that email I just did. I'll just type demo and then user for last name. Company is optional. And at this point, you're going to assign the permissions you would like this user to have within this folder. Right now, I'm going to stick with the default, but you do see you can allow them to delete. If I wanted this user to be able to remove items from the folder, I would simply checkbox delete. If I choose admin, so delete comes with admin, but I can have delete without admin. If I do highlight admin, then I'm able to assign folder alerts for this user, not only upload, but download as well. If admin is deselected, you can see that download is grayed out and you're only allowed to assign upload alerts for this user. So as mentioned, I'm going to go back to the defaults for those three. At this point right here, I can notify that users are being added. They're going to get an email with an activation link that allows them to set up their credentials. And if I had subfolders or folders inside of my client folder, and I wanted the same permissions to be pushed down to those subfolders, I would just select this area, apply settings to subfolders. All right, I'm going to go ahead and click add. That user is now added. And to finalize the folder permission piece, I'm going to go ahead and click on add here. Now I have my demo user on this folder. Let's take a look and see what that looks like for the activation email. So we're going to take the role of the demonstration user. I'm going to refresh the email for this user. And I see my email here saying that Ricardo has shared a folder with you. So I'm going to go in and click on the activation link to begin that process of setting up the account for this user. Again, the first name and last name will be populated for you. Company is optional. I'm going to click continue. And now set up my password, making sure everything is matching up, fulfilled all my requirements. Now I'm going to save and sign in. And now I've logged in as that client user I just created. This is their portal view. I see the folder that they're assigned to and the data inside of that folder. So I'm going to go back to the view of the creator for that user. And we're going to show you how to send and request data. Let me go back to the beginning of my folder here. We'll go to items in this folder. And at this point, I need to share this particular W4 with the demonstration user. And Cord's going to assist me with filling out this form. And the way I'm going to send it, there's a couple ways you can do this. The main way I could possibly share this, I could just share it as a simple link from this account by clicking here. And I can do this one or two ways. I could copy this public link and paste it in another email thread and send it that way, or I can send it through an email using ShareFile itself. If you wanted to copy the link, there's a couple things you may want to take a look at, and that's the actual link options. And when we go to these three dots here, our drop-down list comes up. And when we click on edit options, we get a couple of things that we can configure here. The first we're looking at is the access options. what people can do with the link when they actually get it. At this point, they can download this form and fill it out if I needed them to. But if I just wanted them to see it and not download, I would choose view. Who can access this link? Currently, it's an anonymous link, meaning all the recipient has to do is just click on the link to access it or get data that's being shared with them. But if I wanted to add some more levels of security, a little bit more security with it, the next option down, anyone, name and email required, the recipient's going to have to at least enter their full name and an email to access the link. The next one down is client and employee user sign-in required. This means that you have to, the recipient has to somehow be tied to your account. So, meaning they need credentials to access that link. And it's for both client and employee users, whereas the last one is just for employee users tied to the account would only be able to access the link. Always link to the latest version of the file. The reason this is checkmarked is because if I were to have file version enabled, meaning I could have multiple versions of one file for within a particular folder, I want it to share the most update version of that file. And that's what checking this area will do. Adding a watermark can be placed on the file if you wanted to do that as well. And last here, if you needed to receive a notification that the link has been accessed or data has been downloaded, you would check mark this area notifications. So I'm gonna keep everything as is and just click save. At this point, I would be able to copy the link itself. You know, if I were going into a third-party email, compose a message just to anyone, and then, you know, you put your body message in the email, and that's how the link would look when you go to paste it in another email. Now, if I were to email it through ShareFile, I would want to choose send to specific people. At this point, I have a couple of options I can do as well. First, you're seeing is encrypt this email. Your data attached to the email is already encrypted, but this is going to encrypt my body message that I will put in the email. So if I have that checked, that means not only the data is encrypted, but the text for the email as well. Edit options here, similar to what we just saw with get a link. Access expires within 179 days. If I wanted to never expire, the link never expire, you would just choose never. And again, if I needed to require recipients to sign in, I would check mark here. If you're wanting your recipients to sign in and they're a first-time recipient of a share from your account, they will get an activation email to set up their credentials before accessing that data. And again, we have our notifications down here. Notify me when this is accessed. And you can receive a copy of the email. All right, I'm going to cancel out here. I'm not really going to share this at this moment because we're going to send it to Cord here shortly through another option that will show. So let me back out of here and show you the request feature. Not only can we send links to share with individuals, but we can send a link to retrieve data from individuals. One or two ways this can happen. I'm going to go to the area for the dashboard and show you that request spot. And shortcuts here, like we saw earlier, we saw share files. Now we see request files. I'm going to choose this area. And this is looking a little bit different than our share because right now what it's asking us is, where do we want the data to go that I'm asking for? By default, it's going to go to our file box. And this is a generic landing spot for request links. And this spot, as I back out of here and show you the file box, I'm going to go to folders, and then our file box is right here. And you notice here, it has a retention of 180 days. So if you're asking for items through your request link and choosing this area, you need to keep in mind that if it's something you probably want to keep past 180 days, move it to a different location other than the file box, because at that point, it's going to be permanently deleted from the account and cannot be retrieved. So in order to change that, what a lot of users will do, as I go back to the request files area, they will edit this location. And at this point, your folder tree, entire folder tree for your account will be populated and allow you to choose a different location to place that data. So I'm going to choose client folder. And I know my client folder has no retention on it. So it's good to go as long as data will stay in there as long as I want it to. And it will only be removed if manually deleted. So I'm going to leave that file location there. And when I click on get a link, very similar to the share piece, it's going to give you a link to populate or copy. The edit options are very similar as well. Who can access this link? Again, we're seeing anonymous. We are seeing anyone, name and email required, client and employees, require them to sign in. And lastly, employee users only, requiring them to sign in. Our access expires with 179 days and notify me when this link is accessed. So all these options are very similar to our share links. I'm going to cancel out of here. I'm going to go back and I'm going to choose send to specific people. This is similar to the share, whereas again, if you are sharing this with a first-time recipient, they won't necessarily have to create credentials with a request link unless you are requiring them to log in. But at this point, it should be anonymous to where they are just presented with a link to upload data to you. So if you wanted to put in your email body message, you can do that as well. And let me show you the edit options for this link. Again, similar to what we just saw. All right. You may have questions of what it looks like for that recipient when they get a request link. I'm going to populate a public one here and show you what they would see. So when I copy this link and paste it into a new browser page, this is what that recipient would see. Upload area to give you data. When they choose browse files, it's going to give them two options to either pull data from their local desktop. Well, it's giving you one option really. At this point, it's just allowing you to pull data from your local desktop and put it into ShareFile. All right, I'm going to go back to the account here. And I'm going to go into our client folder and set up a document to send to Cord for signature. This is the integration piece as far as right signature. So let me go into shared folders. Choose client folder. I've got my document ready that I want to send for signature. So I'm going to select it here. I can either choose send for signature here, or if you right click on the document, you get the same options in a drop down. And at this point, it's taking me over to the right signature portal so I can begin preparing my document to send for signature. I'm going to choose prepare document. And let me type in our user who's going to receive it. I'm going to click on next, place fields. And at this point, I'm going to do three fields, I think, 3 or 4 fields. Right now, I'm going to focus on my text field. that is already selected here. And I see my green box right here that I can place. I'm going to ask for a first name. I'm going to ask for a last name. Make these a little bit bigger so they can enter their signatures or their text. And so I'm just going to leave the group requirement only one. If you needed more than one, you would just pull the drop-down list and choose one or more. But I just need one of these filled in. So we'll leave it as is. And the last one I need to do is a signature box. So we'll choose signature field. We're going to scroll down and choose a good area where we need a signature right here. Perfect. And let's throw a date field in there as well. And we'll put a date box right here. All right, I'm going to take a quick overview of my document, make sure everything's filled in correctly. I have my date, my signature, my checkbox group, and my 2 text areas. Click on next to review. I'm going to send the document at this point, and we will switch over to Cord, and he will show you what that looks like for an individual receiving this document and needing it to fill it out.
All right, thanks, Ricardo. So as we can see here, Ricardo has sent over that document for signature. So I just open it here. I see a tiny little preview of the document and some information about it, and then I just click review and sign. And it'll bring up the document. As you can see here, you have on the left, you have these little red flags that tell you which fields are required, and will go down as you complete the document. So go ahead and put first and last name. Choose one of our checkbox here, and as we can see, it only lets us choose one because of how they set them up. All right. And then my little red flag's telling me to go down here to the signature. So just come down here. Can do a drawn signature like that. I also have the option to do a type signature. And I'll go ahead and enter it there. And then we can choose a date. So I can go here and select today. We also have the option to save progress. So if you have a particularly long form, your users can save progress. And then when they come back in, all their information will be saved. But we'll go ahead and do a submit signature here. And it should have gone through. Seems to have kicked me out here real quick. All right, yeah. So as we can see, the document has been completed. So if we come back to our inbox here, we have the executed document. So all we have to do now is if we do view document, we can see the copy that we as a client have completed. So we see our name, signature, everything. At the very bottom, we also have the signature certificate, and this has all the important information that makes it a legally binding certificate, IP addresses, all that good stuff.
Everyone should be seeing my ShareFile portal, and we are in my client folder. And as we can see, that document Cord just signed is now showing up finished within my folder here. This is also a good area to check if you're looking for completed right signature documents. All right. The next area I wanted to show you all was our applications area or our desktop tools. And to get to this spot, you're going to go all the way to your top right. In between help and log out, you'll see apps, and we'll go ahead and click there. Now, depending upon your environment, that's going to determine what tools you see listed first. Because I'm in a Windows environment, I see Windows at the top. If I happen to be on a Mac machine, I would see apps for Mac listed at the top. But these tools are very similar for both environments. They have the same expectations as far as the features and use. First one we're seeing here is Citrix Files for Windows. This essentially will create a virtual drive on your local desktop that is tied to a ShareFile account. Only one account at a time can be tied through this tool though. So if you have multiple ShareFile accounts and you like using this tool, unfortunately, you would have to log out of one account and log in with a separate set of credentials to get to that other account. But again, it keeps you from having to access data via the web app if you want a little bit more convenience as far as getting to your data. We have ShareFile for Gmail. Again, this is a sort of like an add-in or a plugin for your Gmail accounts. And again, it ties to your ShareFile account. It will pull up the folder tree for your account and allow you to choose data within folders and share via Gmail. As for our Mac apps, you're seeing the same one: Citrix Files for Map, that virtual drive, ShareFile for Gmail. We also have Outlook plugin, although I'm not seeing it in this list. It may not be turned on for this account, but there is use for Outlook plugin as well that acts similar to the Gmail account. And I'm going to check apps really quick to determine if this is the right account. Yes, it is. Now, there we go. We are now seeing the Outlook plugin that I was mentioning earlier. And again, they have that for Windows and Mac as well. For mobile, we have some mobile applications for Apple and Android environments. Again, Citrix Files app or the ShareFile app ties your account. You could pretty much do anything you would be able to do through the web app as far as accessing your data, sharing data, and requesting data. Just doing it through a mobile application. All righty. And the last thing I wanted to show was connecting a public cloud connector. And at this point, I am seeing Google Drive and OneDrive. So basically these have been enabled for my account to use. If you're not seeing these in this area and you're not an admin, you may want to reach out to the admin of the account just to make sure these are turned on to be used for the account. For the sake of this demonstration, I went ahead and enabled both of these. I'm going to choose the Google Drive, and then I'm going to choose Authenticate. And now I need to choose the Google account to authenticate with. I'm going to choose our demonstration account we've been working with today. And allow. And now you can see my Google Drive. Data that's stored in my Google Drive is now able to be accessed through ShareFile. When I select an item, I have a download option, I have a share option. I can delete it, which means it's going to remove it from that Google Drive area. So be wary of that. You can preview the document, and the more options I have are to move, copy, or rename. Moving is just going to populate the folder tree for my ShareFile account, and it allows me to take this document out of Google Drive and put it somewhere in ShareFile. Copy essentially would be the same, except you're going to have that document, an instance of that document remain in Google Drive and an instance of that document be a part of ShareFile at the same time. Yeah, thank you all for attending. It was a lot of fun, and hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks everybody.